And so I got it. I actually have this in one of my older videos. I got it on tape. Called the police right away to come over. They talked to me about it. I showed them the video, and they told me to go back in my house, and that they would handle it. They would question him. So I really tried to call any authority figures and let them know. And I did know that my neighbors were participating in it. I thought that it was all, like, even the remote stuff was from some equipment around me, and that I didn't think anything was coming from another location off site from around those houses. I thought either my ex-army neighbor was doing it 24 hours a day as a job, or they had assigned this guy to do it to me, or he was switching out with the people on the other side of me. At this point in my targeting, I do not think that's the truth. I think that he was participating in it, and they did voice modification for him and his wife's voices, but it was someone not in that neighborhood that was doing the 24-hour a day, remote traumatic torture, V2K, high pitched sound, burning of my body. Like one time I had, well, a lot of time, like through a couple of months, just the burn, like it felt like my whole left side was just burning. I kind of lost where I was at. But needless to say, like, the guy walking out with a shotgun, it was like he was angry at me, and I didn't even know him. My neighbor, my ex-army neighbor, I'd go do videos in the backyard, and I had this little kind of trash pile out in the backyard. One day I walked out there and I found this, like, rusted pipe out in the backyard in that trash pile. So he'd come over and, like, thrown this old rusted pipe, I guess trying to frame me. I worked in that house. I worked in an oxygen company, setting up oxygen for people. And one morning I came out to my van to leave, and they had put a bike under the tires. So I, like, backed up. I backed up on the bike that they had put, like, under the tires of this van. And I just, like, I had to get to work, so I just kind of threw it out of the way. When I came back, the bike was gone. Somebody had taken it. Nobody talked to me about it or anything like that. Nobody asked me what was going on. Hey, this is my bike, or anything like that. Some other incidences is, and I document all this on my older videos. I'd walk outside and smell like a burning hamburger smell, or a sewage smell. I'd also smell this inside my house, and I'd have to run my water to make that smell go away. Now, when I came outside, I would just try to get to my car. I'd try and just kind of cover my nose and get to my car. So, the toxins around my house, my neighbor's light, the ex-army guy, his lights were on literally while I lived at that house. The lights on by my house were on 24 hours a day. He never turned them off. So I know that I know that they participated. How much, I don't know, but I don't think everything came from my neighbors. I think there was remote attacks that were 24 hours a day. Then my neighbors participated and maybe hit me with some ground weapons, on the weekend or when they got home from work. I'm trying to think. Then, because I was trying to get authority figures out there, police and sheriffs, and I was just trying to tell them that, my neighbor was hitting me with something, kind of like a new form of taser weapon or something like that. I was trying to kind of put it into simple terms, but all of them, they would go question him, and he would say he's not doing anything, and then, I wouldn't get help. So I made a couple of reports with the FBI. I called the FCC. The FBI told me, well, we're going to do an investigation, but we can't tell you anything about it or what we find. And then after I called the FBI, I did have, flyovers in the neighborhood of black helicopters, in my backyard, kind of just above the neighborhood in general. God, there's so much that I probably won't get to in this video about what's happening, but I am kind of just covering a general, like, how it all kind of came together. I guess I'm getting to that point now where I kind of want to tell y'all about the event that really, I think they were getting scared because I was telling so many people, I was calling so many people, I was calling the FBI, I was calling the Department of Justice. You know, I think as all TIs, I was calling the ACLU, I was calling just everybody, telling everybody and their mother, you know, I'm being attacked in my house. It's been for, you know, it was about at that point, you know, I knew that I was in a program. It took me from that initial point of high pitched sound in that apartment to figuring out that I was a targeted individual. It took me, let's see, 2 months plus about a year plus about 3 months. So it took me about a year and a half to find out that I was part of, you know, for about a year and a half. And this is not even including the, you know, the 10 years before that, where I think that I was, you know, targeted and tortured without the things where I was like, I'm being attacked. When I knew that I was attacked externally, it took about a year and a half for me to figure out that there were other people out there, you know, as a huge worldwide program that this was happening to. This is very hopeful because I'm not a dumb guy. Like I look on the internet a lot. You know, I mean, I research things a lot. I research it from every angle, and it took me a year and a half to figure out, you know, that I was a targeted individual. Now there are targeted individuals nowadays that it starts happening to them. They figure out in a month, or they figure out in 2 weeks. They figure out a lot sooner. So that's a very hopeful thing. But it took me about a year and a half to figure out that this wasn't just some private vengeance thing with using maybe something that an ex-Marine used for communications, you know, when he was in the war. So I was kind of getting to the part where, you know, I called the Inspector General. Now the Inspector General is the person that's the head of all the city police. So I call the Inspector General and I say, you know, my neighbor has been harassing me for a while. He's using there's some kind of high pitched thing that he is pointing at my house. It's high pitch. I don't know. I've been, you know, and I told the Inspector General, I was like, I've been looking into non-ionized microwave radiation. At this point, I knew what was going on. I knew it was a program, but I was still trying to, when I talk to people, kind of talk to them and play dumb. Like, okay, I'm being hit with something. I don't know what it is. It's like kind of a new age taser or something like that. It's a high pitched sound. It seems like it's coming from his wall to my house. The Inspector General said, okay, well, I'm going to check it out. You know, I've never heard of anything like that, but if your neighbor's harassing you, you know, what you want to do is just stay away from him and let us know, you know, if he does anything else. You know, so I was kind of pleased with that phone call. I was like, okay, well, at least I got somebody on my side checking it out. You know, I didn't know that he probably knew, you know, more about this program than I knew. You know, I was thinking maybe I could just keep talking to him and keep letting him know. So then, about a day after that, I get a call from an ex-FBI agent, and I didn't know this at the time, but I looked up his name and his record after everything occurred. But basically, I got a call from the coroner's office. You know, this time I did some videos. I saw William the Bastard and Timothy Trespass, and I was doing some videos about what was happening to me. But, you know, I wasn't too sure of what was going on. I was still kind of studying it. I knew that it was happening to a lot of people, so I was doing some, you know, videos about poison, like the smell that I smelled around my house and certain things like that. But this story is important because this is why I started just making tons of videos and just trying to get awareness out on social media. I got a call after I talked to the Inspector General. About a day went by. I get a call from the coroner's office. Now it's a man, it's a man at the coroner's office. He tells me, you know, I tell him the story. I'm like, I'm being harassed by my neighbor. There's some kind of high-pitched sound that's being pointed at my house. I did not explain anything about being hit in my car or any kind of remote stuff like that because I just, you know, common sense, I was like, if this guy doesn't know what I'm talking about, you know, he's really going to think I'm crazy, which I think we all go through that. But, he go and I mentioned non-ionizing radiation. I said I've been researching this high pitched sound and electromagnetic frequencies, and it seems like it could be some device that is emitting non-ionizing radiation. So I'm worried about my health. It's really hurting me, And I was getting V2K then, and the high pitched sound, and body hits, but I didn't tell him about the V2K. I did tell him that I was making videos about it on YouTube. He said, Kyle, I've heard about that. I know all about non-ionizing radiation. I know what you're talking about. He said, okay, come into the emergency room. You don't need to tell them anything about this. We're going to do a physical checkup on you to make sure that your health is okay, because this non-ionizing radiation can be dangerous. I mean, this guy was acting like he knew what I was talking about, and he was there to help. So I was like, oh, great, okay, great. Well, I'll go into the hospital, I'll go into the emergency room and get a physical check to make sure that I'm not being hurt by this stuff. And this is, I'm getting somewhere, So I packed up my bag, my book sack, I go into the emergency room, and he told me, the guy at the coroner's office, he said, you're going to talk to this doctor. I forget the doctor's name, which would be good to have. I think I have it in my records. But he said, you're going to talk to this doctor. Just tell him about your physical symptoms. He's just going to check you out physically. What happened is I got to the emergency room, and I ended up seeing the nurse practitioner of the doctor that he told me I was going to be able to see. She asked me what was going on. I just said, I'm hearing a high-pitched sound. My neighbor's harassing me. Very normal stuff. It was just normal stuff. I didn't go into a lot of the targeting world and what I'd learned and done videos on. I kind of tried to just stay vanilla on it, and tell them mostly about the pain that I was feeling. Felt like my chest, I was getting hit in the chest. Well, now it's just like I'm having chest pain, headaches. I hear a high pitched ring in my ears. Things like that. They immediately signed me up to go to not just the not just the short-term behavioral center, which is basically the place where kind of people who can take care of themselves go. They sent me to the mental ward, where people can't take care. They can't clean themselves. They can't eat. They have retardation and things like that. People strapped down to gurneys because they just can't function. So they sent me to the worst place, like in a hole. There. I'm getting kind of long-winded on this. I just wanted to give you all a general thing, but this is important because while I was in there, and it took me, I talked to a psychiatrist in there. Who immediately flagged me to be put into the place where people can at least take care of themselves and use the bathroom, and they have there's drug problems and people with other disorders, but it's not like they can't use the bathroom themselves and everything like that. Immediately put in for an order to get me in there, and it took like maybe 3 days for me to get into there. Where I spent 2 weeks, basically, trying to explain it to psychiatrists there. Immediately when I got in there, I had a psychiatrist. They replaced her with a pediatric psychiatrist. And I tried to explain to him kind of that, my neighbor was harassing me. There's some kind of high-pitched sound. I think it's some kind of, maybe something that they're kind of networking around. I didn't go into the whole there's this whole group of people in the world that this is happening to. Didn't go into the fact that it was remote, but I just stayed on the neighbor harassment. And he would laugh about it. He was a pediatric psychiatrist who came in like 2 days into that place. My regular psychiatrist, the woman psychiatrist, left on vacation. They put him in. Horrible experience. My parents, ended up, they'd come and visit me, and they thought I was completely crazy. Were giving me all these kind of, well, we'll let you come home. My parents would let me come home if I did this, this, and this. So, after about a week, I started just saying, okay, well, yeah, I know it's not happening. Telling my parents, okay, well, I'll do whatever y'all want me to do. Yeah, and I'll just kind of get my mind